YouTubers, and welcome to another episode of the AV Club. I'll be your host for today, Cornell Westside, and today we'll be covering episode 8 of The Last of Us. Now, if you've been on this journey with us for the last 8 weeks, I appreciate every single one of you, and I do ask, if you haven't already, to hit that like and subscribe button, and please hit that alert button so that you get all of our videos for The Last of Us and any other videos that we create. Now, this was my most anticipated episode of the season, as we finally got to meet one of the most sadistic characters in the game, David. They've alluded to him in a few episodes as they talk about things that are worse than the infected, and he's definitely worse than the infected, if you've seen in this episode. Also, of course, warning, spoilers are happening in this video, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, please don't watch this, but go and watch the video and then come back and watch this episode. But a lot of the scenes in the dialogue and David's character follow pretty closely to what it is in the game. I actually think the game version of him is a little bit more sadistic, and the twist that we got in the game is a little bit more hurtful for us, because it's like we trusted him a little bit more, and then he turned on us and tried to eat us, of course, and a little bit more than that. But the show actually did do a good job of capturing his character as well. This was also probably one of the hardest levels in the game, because it was so hard to try and get around him in the fire, and you had like no gun, and this man had the sight of microscopic telescope, because he can see any move that you made and shoot you. So in this episode, we pick up in Silver Lake, where we meet David and his clan and get their backstory. Now, David is a preacher and starts off reading out from Revelations 21. Now, I assume that this is a eulogy for the raider that Joel wound up killing in the last episode, that wound up leaving him injured. We actually wound up meeting his wife and daughter in the scene. Now, judging for what we learn later on in the episode about David, I believe that this is his current, and I say this lightly, plaything, because it seems like when he meets Ellie, he keeps saying that she is his equal. And in the game, we know that we had an excursion with some infected, and that's when he kind of comes to that conclusion. Although in the show, they didn't show any of this. So I believe that they were trying to show one little girl to be very quote unquote weak as she's going through the mourning period of her father, and showing that Ellie is his equal, and that's why he wants her to be his new plaything.
Oh, that's nasty.
The little girl asks David if her father can be buried, but unfortunately David said that the ground is too cold and that they're burying him in the spring. Fortunately, we know that this is not true and that they're saving that body for something very special later. Now, in this scene, we get our first look at James, and James is actually played by Troy Baker, who is the original voice of Joel in the game. Although when they talked about it on the podcast, we find out that they actually didn't cast him. They actually were considering him for a little bit, but they didn't cast him because they thought he was a little bit too tall, lanky, and hippie looking, and didn't look the part. I also found out that they actually considered Matthew McConaughey for the role, and he turned it down, thankfully. Just don't think that that would have been a good choice. But I also saw that they actually considered Mahershala Ali and actually offered him the role, but eventually they rescinded the role and obviously gave it over to Pedro Pascal. And I'm not saying that Pedro Pascal is not doing a great job, but it just would have been interesting to see any of these people besides Matthew McConaughey be Joel. James seems to be David's right-hand man, and David talks to him about not feeling the support for him while they were in the eulogy. He tells him it's been hard because it's been 6 months and they haven't really had enough to eat. But he also talks about seeing some deer with some other folks while they were hunting a while back. And then the two decide to go hunting for the deer, which brings us to Ellie, who just so happened to be hunting that same deer. Because she and Joel have now run out of food, and she obviously is the only one who's capable to go hunting for anything, since Joel is still incapacitated from his injury from last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point. Now, I think they were trolling us when they had Ellie faceplant while trying to hunt the rabbit, because in the game, she actually is very successful in this. Once she goes to collect the deer, she runs into David and James, and then we have a scene that's straight out of the game.
Any sudden moves and I put one right between your eyes. Ditto for Buddy Boy over there.
Any sudden moves, I put one right between your eyes. Ditto for Buddy Boy.
So am I. Women and children, all very hungry too.
Well, maybe we could trade you for some of that meat there. What do you need? Weapons, ammo, clothes, boots?
Medicine? Like for infections.
We do. Back at the camp. You're welcome to follow us
I'm
back.
not following you anywhere.
Buddy Boy can go get it. He comes back with what I need. The deer is all yours. Anyone else shows up,
I put one right between...
between my eyes.
that's right.
bottles of the penicillin in a syringe. Make it fast. Go on.
It's not code, James. Do as I said. Oil and matches in my pack. We could take shelter, start a fire.
Bring him with us.
Now, what kind of added an extra level of vulnerability in the game while you're playing is that this is the first time that you are actually controlling Ellie and Joel is not around as well. So we kind of feel the same way that Ellie feels in the show because we're without our adult, I say, for the first time. The one difference that the show does is makes Ellie kind of the more of the aggressor in the scene as David and James come up to the deer before Ellie is able to try to secure it. And then in the game, Ellie is securing the deer while David and James walk up behind her. Again, changing these things does change the vulnerability that we have as we're a little girl walking in the woods and two men walk up on us as opposed to us kind of hunting the two men as they do in the show. By the way, I love how Ellie tries to deepen her voice to make her sound more intimidating. It reminds me that a cat makes its tail tall and bushy in order to seem like it's more intimidating when really it just makes it look a lot more cuter, you know? Just, yeah. Okay, that's just me. I'll shut up.
You know, you really shouldn't be out here all on your own.
From where I'm sitting, you shouldn't be out here on your own.
I see. What's your name?
It's hard to trust strangers, I know, but I honestly mean you no harm.
Now, in the game, we get attacked by some infected after the scene, but in the show, they use a little bit more of David's backstory in order to show that Ellie is starting to maybe trust him a little bit, but I don't really buy it the same way I did in the game. He tells her that he's a preacher who was a former teacher before the apocalypse and that he found God after the apocalypse. Now, we find out later that the God that he's talking about is not the conventional God that we would come to think that he would be talking about. It tells us that he actually worships the cordyceps and that they are the God that is washing everything clean in the Revelations passage that he spoke about in the first scene. This version of David came from the Pittsburgh QZ, which he escaped after some type of attack happened there that caused it to fall. Now, this is different from the game because in the show, we actually swap out Pittsburgh for Kansas City. All of the events that happened with Henry and Sam all happened in Pittsburgh as opposed to this new time in Kansas City in the show. Eventually, after he gathered the flock of people, he wound up settling down in the town, or the resort rather, that's called Silver Lake that they call the town. And the next scene is where we get our little talk about fate and things begin to change in this episode. With some dialogue that's pretty much straight out of the game, he talks about how the Raiders came back with missing one person, who was obviously the person that Joel killed, and how they talked about this crazy man and he was with a little girl. And guess what? The little girl is Ellie. And being the smart person that she is, she immediately notices that he has ulterior motives here, and she starts to get up and get out of there.
We got lucky.
No such thing as luck. No, I believe everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I do.
I can prove it to you.
Okay?
This winter. That's been especially cruel.
Nothing will grow. Game's been hard to find.
A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out a nearby town.
To scavenge what they could.
Only a few came back.
And the one that didn't was a father. He had a daughter just like you. And her dad was taken from her.
He said that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he's crazy man.
Was traveling with a little girl.
You see?
Everything happens for a reason.
James, lower the gun.
Did you bring the medicine?
Ellis won't be happy about this.
Yeah, well, that's not your concern.
Back away.
I can protect you.
No, thanks.
Yeah, so as you can see, David got really evil there really fast. And again, my only complaint about this is the fact that you were able to fight some infected together and go through a little bit of kind of a mini journey together in order to build some trust. So in the game, it had more gravitas. But nonetheless, I think the actor Scott Shepherd did do a good job within the confines that he had. Now, in the next scene, we get another vulnerable moment with Ellie when we see her give Joel the antibiotics and she begins to lay on his chest as if he is her real father. Because right now, Ellie is really lost. She has no idea what to do, and she's being chased by a group of people who want to take her back to the camp. The one mistake that Ellie made that comes back to haunt her is that she runs straight back to Joel instead of trying to cover up her tracks, and that the Raiders are able to locate them quite easily.
What is it?
Venison.
That ain't no damn puppy. That ain't no damn puppy.
Now, after talking with a few people, I thought this was obvious, but apparently it wasn't. But let me be the first to tell you if you didn't know, this ain't no damn venison. That, my friend, is that little girl's daddy, chopped up into little pieces and served and ready to go for tonight's stew. Now, how cruel of a society is this that they made a woman cook her own husband without knowing it? You can definitely tell that something's up just the way that they have the meat like squelching as she picks it up and puts it into the pot. And to 100% confirm it for you, they bring in the deer that they would have been cooking and eating while the meal is being served. So you know that that's not that deer meat eaten on that Alec pack tonight. Now, David tells the group that he caught up to Ellie and that he's going to go look for her and Joel in the morning. And once he says that, the little girl asks if they can kill her. Now, he says he slaps her because he took that as a form of disrespect, but I'm not entirely sure why he did what he did. He tells her that everything will be okay because she has a father figure in him. We see here that he's forcing himself to be this perverted father figure for the children of this, I'm just going to call them clan, as opposed to Joel, who's rejecting the role of being a good father to Ellie. And the first thing he does after saying this is watch her eat her real dad. Now, you can look at some of the faces of the people in this community and know that they know something is up. They may not know exactly what's going on, but they do know that something is wrong. But I wonder if she actually knew what was going on right now.
I made you eat your parents.
Next day, while on the hunt for Ellie, James questions David's decision making on why he wants to keep Ellie and bring her back to the camp. They've already decided to kill Joel, and well, you know what they want to do with him. And James suggests that bringing Ellie back will only be another mouth to feed, and that maybe her dying in the wilderness is God's will. It reminds me of the statement that Kathleen made back in, I think, episode 5, when they were talking about sacrificing Sam and having Henry let him die from his leukemia. Her sentiments were kids die, which is pretty much what James is saying right here. And it's ironic that they both wound up dying from the hands of kids. Ellie tries to wake Joel up before she tries to lure David and the crew away from the house where Joel is. And just like in the game, her escape attempt is pretty much short-lived as she gets captured right after. Now, David actually interrupts as James is about to take the kill shot on Ellie at the suggestion for one of the other community members. And he walks off with her kind of in a protector style that I think will mirror a shot that will be in next week's episode when Joel eventually saves Ellie, and I won't talk too much about it until next week when we see it. So much irony going on in this scene as the guy who plays the guy who is supposed to save Ellie is actually about to take the kill shot on her. After capturing Ellie, David sends the rest of the crew out to get Joel, but Joel wakes up before they can get to him and winds up capturing 2 of them. The next scene, David does the whole "you need me, I'm your only hope, Joel's about to die, we're about to kill him" thing. So yeah, there's that. And then the next scene, Joel tortures the captives in order to figure out where Ellie is. And they eventually tell him that she's at Silver Lake.
The girl.
I don't know any girl. Oh!
Fuck! Focus right here, right here.
Or I'll pop your fucking kneecap off.
She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where?
Oh, fine. In the town. What town? Silver Lake.
You're gonna point to where we are and where your resort is.
And it better be the same exact spot your buddy points to. Mark it.
Go on. I tell you, I ain't lying. I ain't. Told you what you wanted. I ain't telling you shit.
It's okay.
No.
I believe him.
No.
And Joel is back, ladies and gentlemen. Joel is back in his Apex Predator mode, ready to go save Ellie. It's in the next scene while trying to escape that Ellie finds out that David and the crew are actually cannibals, and they have a little heart-to-heart about it. He tries his hardest to convince her to come over to his side and be his pet. Queen, I don't know what his intention is. Let's just call it what it is. This guy is a straight pedophile.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
And I hope that does well in the YouTube algorithm. Anywho, in the episode, they make it seem like Ellie is kind of going for it because he kind of makes a deal that he'll call off his people and spare Joel if she stays there and never communicates with him ever again. But we know this is utter bullshit. It's in this scene where I have my favorite actual dialogue from Ellie, where when she bites off his finger. But also, I do want to point out that the distinct difference between David in the game and David in the episodes, that David reveals here that he actually worships the cordyceps as kind of a demigod. Remember, earlier in the episode, he said that he found God after the apocalypse, and obviously the cordyceps are what caused the apocalypse, so it makes sense that he found God after the apocalypse. He also explains how Ellie is his equal, and that's why he wants her to be his, and again, I'll keep saying plaything, but I think we kind of missed something between the episode and the game, because again, I keep talking about it, but in the game, we went on the excursion, and then I believe that's when he seen that she was capable of doing a lot, whether it be killing, conversation, or just being helpful to the community. But it's here, I think they kind of connected to the speech that the Fedra agent gave to her when she got in trouble in Fedra school, when he says that she's a natural born leader. It kind of mirrors what David says here, calling her a natural born leader. And I think that's what they used to make you think that she's gonna go his way, but again, it just wasn't as strong as it was in the game. Honestly, I think they should have added about 20 more minutes to the episode, kind of like they did in episode 3 with Bill and Frank, just to kind of round out everything and give that clicker moment that we sort of needed here. He also uses that tactic that I have after talking to a lot of social worker friends, learned that the pedophilic people do, saying that classic line of, "You remind me of me when you were younger," to kind of invigorate the person and think like, oh yeah, we understand each other. He also reveals that only a few of the community members know that they are eating human meat. And in his justification speech, he has a kind of a speech that's similar to when Joel was talking to his brother, Tommy, when he talked about the days of when they were basically raiders themselves. Joel tells Tommy, "What would you have wanted me to do to keep us alive? I kept you alive." And that's basically what David is saying here. So you see, we see that theme of love and what you would do for a person, where that goes sometime during the apocalypse is still strong here.
You should eat.
For what it's worth, this is just deer meat, I swear.
With some human helping on the side?
You're gonna chop me up into little pieces.
I'd rather not. Please tell me your name.
If you want to judge me,
Judge you? You're eating people, you sick fuck!
It's awfully quick to judgment. Considering you and your friend killed how many men?
He was defending himself.
he was defending you. You're a natural leader. You're smart.
Loyal.
Violent.
And you're special.
Imagine the life we could build.
Oh.
You stupid little girl.
Let's see what I go tell the others now.
Ellie,
What?
tell them that
Ellie is a little girl who broke her fucking finger!
How did you put it? Hmm? Tiny pieces.
During this, Joel has pretty much gotten back almost to full health and is almost to Ellie at this point. Finds evidence of her at Silver Lake and immediately knows that she actually is there. He also sees some bodies that are currently being dressed, or undressed as Ellie will put it. Just in case we had to ask ourselves if Joel knew that they were cannibals, he now knows now. When Ellie escapes, she winds up back at the steakhouse just like in the video game, and I'm telling you, this is probably one of the hardest levels in the game. If you played this level, drop in the chat how many tries it actually took you to defeat David. Also drop one in the chat for James, aka Troy Baker, aka Joel. Also, does anybody else find it ironic that we're fighting a cannibal in a steakhouse and that the steakhouse is the meeting ground for the cannibal clan? Anyway, just like in the game, they tease it out that Joel will be the one to save Ellie, but she actually winds up saving herself from David. And she kills him in one of the most graphic kills of the season. I mean, she really let him have it, and he deserved it, let's be honest.
Wait, don't do it, please don't do it!
I warned you.
I'm infected!
so are you.
Roll up my sleeve, look at it. What did you say?
Everything happens for a reason, right?
What the hell is that? She would have turned by now. It can't be real.
That looks pretty fucking real to me.
And And for those who are wondering, Ellie does not have the power to infect people who are not infected by the cordyceps virus with the virus. Now I'm going to go ahead and enter our super spoiler section because the explanation for this will be a super spoiler. So if you don't want any more super spoilers, even though there's only one episode left, please exit the video now. I thank you for being here for as long as you have, and please like and subscribe on your way out. Now back to spilling the tea. We know Ellie can infect people because she actually bit the character Abby in the second game, and she wound up not turning. By the way, the more we prep for Abby's arrival, the more I'm just like, do we have to? I mean, it was already cruel that Naughty Dog made us play as the character that wound up taking out our surrogate father for half the second game, which I thought was, I guess, a very weird decision, but I just don't want to see her in real life. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this week's episode. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they wrap up the rest of the plot in this last episode. And especially if they keep it to an hour, like I can only see them making everything happen if they break this up into like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, because they're bringing the character who plays Ellie's voice on the game to play Ellie's mom in this new plot line that, you know, we don't know anything about. Honestly, unless it's a cold open, I really don't want to see it, because I need to see how, you know, we get to the point in which Joel starts killing fireflies, especially because, you know, that Marlene dies at the end of the game. So I just want to see like how that justification happened, where we turn her from the surrogate mother from Ellie to a person who deserves to die in a matter of 60 minutes with this one, because this is what we've been all waiting for. But again, that's all I have for this week. If there's anything else you would like to discuss, please drop it in the chat, and I can't wait to see you next week when we hit the finale. And if you haven't got tired of me begging for it, and if you love these videos, please like and subscribe for the content so that you can get alerts for when we drop this video and any other videos going forward. Thank you, melanated reporters, and I'll see you next week.